I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to another broadcast. This is our broadcast to change the world, bring abundance, talk about the Manna World Holding Trust, talk about the Cabal and the current changes that are happening in the world, and how we go about doing that is, in one way, by voting, and even creating new political parties, as in the Brexit party. So we're going to cover that today because they just won, and Nigel Farage, formed the Brexit party 6 weeks ago, and it's come into where it's actually been elected into the leading place above the other parties, and we're going to go over those results, and actually how does that affect things throughout Europe, because it's all about leaving the bureaucracy of the EU, the unelected body that assumed control over all of Europe. Now, isn't that interesting, right? It's like, their baby new world order that they basically put into place, and Britain has just voted to exit. Well, actually a while ago, and they were supposed to be out by the end of March, and they're still in. And if they vote, and if the people vote, and then the government doesn't comply, what is that? What does that actually mean? It means that they don't believe you have a say. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just go ahead and look at a couple of clips that I've gathered together. I've posted all these clips in the Where We Go All.love Telegram group, and we're going to go over them. And they're all brief. They're all just 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. But they will give us a good view of what's going on in England right now. So I got the first one queued up here. Let's go.
Never before in British politics has a new party launched just 6 weeks ago, topped the polls in a national election. The reason, of course, is very obvious. We voted to leave in a referendum. We were supposed to do so on March the 29th, and we haven't. There's a huge message here, massive message here. The Labour and Conservative parties could learn a big lesson from tonight, though I don't suppose that they actually will. The new date is the 31st of October. We, in the Brexit party, have got men and women of considerable business experience. We want to be part of that negotiating team. We want to take responsibility for what's happening, and we're ready to do so. I hope the government is listening. I have to say this: if we don't leave on October the 31st, then the scores you've seen for the Brexit party today will be repeated in a general election, and we are getting ready for it. Thank you.
There we go. Let's see.
50.5% of people got up since Thursday all the way through to today to vote and have their say.
This is the European elections.
So they were voting for their various different MEPs parties within their own countries. What does it all mean actually in Brussels and the European Parliament? Well, this is the European Parliament. A bit of cheese, maybe a bit of cake, I don't know, but we're looking at different slices of it here. And as Meg was saying, that traditionally the EPP on the centre-right here, the Socialists and Democrats in the red here, they both kind of had a majority in the European Parliament for many years now, haven't they? But tonight, these bluey-green colours and these red colours are kind of fading a little bit, aren't they?
And one party that didn't do very well tonight at all is the far left group. That's the GUE, or the European United Left, affiliated, of course, with Syriza, the Greeks, and Ireland's Sinn Féin, a group that wants to bring Ireland together to reunite Ireland. And over here, right beside me, we can see the Europe for Nations and Freedom. That's, of course, the bloc of Marine Le Pen and Belgium's Vlaams Belang, a party that back in 2014 actually wanted to bring down the whole EU and just destroy the institutions from within. But they've changed their tune actually over the last couple of months and decided, no, they want to stay in the European Union but reform it radically, giving more power back to the member states.
Maybe what's also an interesting colour on this chart tonight is this one here, right? The green. Not because it's the same colour as Alex's cube, but it's because of the Green Party within the European Parliament, because actually there has been a bit of a green wave tonight in countries like France and Germany and in Finland as well. Quite interesting.
I mean, Ireland, in fact, Ireland has not had a Green MEP for the last couple of years, and we'll find out tomorrow, but they could be sending 3 Green MEPs to Brussels and Strasbourg over the next couple of years. Of course, a lot of urban voters, a lot of people from Dublin, from the capital city there, who can afford perhaps to vote Green, because that, of course, could make their life a little bit more expensive, because they might have to pay more for their flights.
Of course, climate change, the climate change marches, everything we've seen maybe encourage that vote as well.
Yeah.
I saw very...
We'll go ahead and... I didn't intend on putting that one, but it looked good, so I let it run. So we're gonna go over a few other pieces of kind of this narrow in on the English Brexit, because that's really the focal point. You can see that there's that the Europeans having their elections and things like that. I want to point out that the elections, these positions that they're talking about, mean nothing. They're only a place where they just talk, sounding boards. You know, they don't have any say in what actually happens. It's the bureaucracy above that is basically saying this is what we're doing, and then they just all talk about it, and they give some, you know, say, oh well, we're going to change this, and they make some waves of information out there into the world to say, oh yes, we're taking care of the concerns about this and like that, but it's just a sounding board. And it really doesn't give the people a say. So let's go on to some others. I'm gonna cue some come up here again. I posted these all in the Where We Go One We Go All.love site. You know, just before getting on. So we'll go over these. I lost track of them. Where'd they go? Oh, here. Okay. I'm looking for, I think this is the one. Nope, it's the next one. I'm going to get the handle on this where we're actually going to be posting them. I'll post them ahead of time on my, after there, I'll put them on this computer. I had them on the other computer.
So let's just be clear, we're talking about...
That's another one of those. So you got to just pull them up one at a time. So you find, this is the one I was looking for. Okay, there we go. The page you requested cannot be found. How interesting. It's all right, I've got a backup. And then they pulled it down. I've got these, they were all posted within the hour.
For the European parliamentary election, the Southwest...
So this is the one I'm going to look at. I'm going to increase the size of the screen. And then I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to share my screen. It's 4 minutes.
Officer for the European parliamentary election in the Southwest region held on the 23rd of May 2019, to hereby give notice that the number of valid votes cast for each party and individual candidate at this election is as follows. Change UK, the independent group, 46,612.
I'll speed this up a little bit.
Conservative and Unionist Party, 144,674. English Democrats, 8,393. Green Party, 302,364. Labour Party, 108,100. Liberal Democrats, 385,095. The Brexit Party, 611,742. That was 611,742. UK Independence Party.
So I just want to point out that the Brexit Party, you can see there in blue, it's almost twice the number of Liberal Democrats, twice that of Green. The Conservatives and Labour Party have been traditionally the big parties. And this is what is interesting to notice, that this is the establishment. Conservative and Labour Party are the establishment of English politics. And they're the big ones. You can see that they've actually been trounced by these other parties. But Brexit basically came in the lead far more than any of the others, right? So they're going to actually have a say. But we'll continue on and listen to the end of this.
53,739. Maxi, Larchy and Albert Frank Independent, 1,772. Bertha Rahman Independent, 755. And Neville Seas Independent, 3,383. The total number of rejected ballot papers in the region is 9,544. I also give notice that I prepared a statement setting out the details as required by the European Parliamentary election rules, but I hereby declare the following candidates have been duly elected for the South West region. Anne Noreen Widdicombe, the Brexit Party. Caroline Jane Bowden, Liberal Democrats. James Alexander Grancy, the Brexit Party. Molly Scott-Cato, Green Party. Christina Sheila Jordan, the Brexit Party. And Martin Charles Holwood, Liberal Democrats. I'd now like to ask the first name from each of the parties if they'd like to a short speech to the assembled from.
So there we have our latest regional result from the southwest of England, and Anne Widdicombe, the former Conservative MP for Maidstone, now the new MEP, one of them anyway, for the southwest, on behalf of the Brexit Party. Let's have a listen to what she's saying.
To the party workers of the Brexit Party. Tonight reaffirms the vote of 2016. Because there was only one reason for voting for the Brexit Party, and that was if you wanted a Brexit. And therefore, we will go forward determined that that is what we are going to achieve. And when we go to Brussels, we will say that because of our showing in these elections, and the fact that we so clearly speak for the people, that we want a role in the negotiations. And that is what we will be asking for. But I just thank all the voters who voted for us, who said to the politicians at Westminster, we meant what we said.
Reaffirming the message that Richard Tice was giving us earlier, which is that they want to share in the negotiations if they pick up again after the failure of the.
I just want to point out that this is basically the total number of their elected officials now going to be seated. So you can see that Brexit actually has a majority. Now, this is the Southwest region, and this is basically repeated throughout England. But this is a one good one, actually, just breaking down the results. So it's pretty exciting to see that this has all happened. So this one is what's happening again in Europe.
Exit polls at this stage after the appear in Germany polls for the 2019 European elections have now closed, so those exit polls are available. Angela Merkel's Conservatives are ahead. So let's run through the figures. So as I say, these are it's based on interviews with voters as actually leave polling stations. The actual figures will come later this evening. So this is what we know. This is what we are being told so far.
Not good news for them. Good news for the world.
Take 28%. That's down 7.4 percentage points. Centre left SPD come in at 15.5%.
SPD is the problem for Angela Merkel. That was her coalition.
Percentage points. The environmentalist Green Party looked to take 22% of the vote. That's a big increase for them, more than 11 percentage points. And the far-right populist Alternative for Germany, the AfD, that's 10.5%, a 3.4 percentage point increase for them. Then we have the free market FDP looking at about 5.5%, and the Left Party also at 5.5%, at least 13% for other parties here in Germany in this European election. Let me just stress for you, those are exit poll results, not yet based on actual ballot counts. So let's go through those figures with DW's chief political correspondent, Melinda Crane. Melinda, not looking as bad at this stage for Chancellor Merkel's CDU-CSU.
Well, she will be very concerned about the SPD figure. That is her junior coalition partner, as we heard from Kate Brady. And the fact is that if this is an earthquake for the Social Democrats, and it most certainly is, we will certainly see some pressure to change leadership for that party, and also possibly to look at an early end to this grand coalition that many, many Social Democrats feel has essentially undercut the Social Democratic Party's ability to have a clear standing, a clear profile in voters' minds. The SPD has actually shaped a number of aspects of policy in ways that normally would be favorable for the SPD clientele, including minimum wage, but other issues as well. And yet the voters clearly don't give them credit.
Well, there may be other reasons why the Social Democrats are losing other than what she has said, but she is saying that it is a problem for Angela Merkel. So let's see, I think we have another one I wanted to bring up here. It's this one.
So let's be clear, we're talking about exit polls.
No, not that one. We just did that one. Oh, maybe it's this one.
Okay, so we are starting to get some results in from a bit of the black sheep of this election, it has to be said, the late entrant, the UK, that didn't even know it was going to be taking part until just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and the situation in the United Kingdom is very much along the lines of what we were expecting from the opinion polls in the run-up to the vote itself. The Brexit Party dominating massively. We're seeing scores in some areas, not in the regions, but in some areas of over 50% in favour of the Brexit Party. That is likely to translate across the country into extremely big wins. We're seeing the Conservative Party falling to an all-time low of 10% in these elections, it would seem, according to some early polls. And that's the party of government, of course. The Conservative Party falling to 10%. What we're seeing in the northeast of the country, Labour heartland, Labour is shedding votes too in favour of the Brexit Party. The northeast seeing 2 of its MEPs being from the Brexit Party, 1 from Labour. That's a reverse from the situation of 2014. The east of the country, Brexit again, the Brexit Party again consolidating its victories there. 3 MEPs from the east of the country, 2 for the Lib Dems, 1 for the Greens and 1 for the Conservative Party. What's interesting there is that the Brexit Party is consolidating its popularity, but it's the anti-Brexit parties in the east of the country that are also scoring a total of 3 MEPs there. So there is a degree of, if you will, a fight back from the Brexit movements, and questions are likely to have to be asked about why those anti-Brexit movements couldn't unify if they're going to have the same voter share as the Brexit Party.
I see plenty to discuss in terms of the UK, very much coloured by the Brexit debate, as we know.
Okay. All right, and there'll be one more. This one.
Never before in British politics has a new party launched just 6 weeks ago topped the polls in a national election. The reason, of course, is very obvious. We voted to leave in a referendum. We were supposed to do so on March the 29th, and we haven't. There's a huge message here, massive message here. The Labour and Conservative parties could learn a big lesson from tonight, though I don't suppose that they actually will. The new date is the 31st of October. We, in the Brexit Party, have got men and women of considerable business experience. We want to be part of that negotiating team. We want to take responsibility for what's happening, and we're ready to do so. I hope the government is listening. I have to say this: if we don't leave on October the 31st, then the scores you've seen for the Brexit Party today will be repeated in a general election, and we are getting ready for it. Thank you.
There we go. All right. Well, what does this mean? It means that the cabal is losing around the world. It's losing in America with Trump and the MAGA revolution. You know, join the rebellion. Where we go, one, we go all. Love. Links down below. It shows that the people all around are standing up. You know, the French and the Yellow Vest movement They're all pushing back against the cabal, the overreaching government, one world government. And we are winning. In fact, we've won. They just don't know it yet. Because enough people are awake that we're waking up the rest. We're red pilling them left and right. People are noticing now what the issues are, and words of treason are abound. And what does treason mean? Treason means that you go against your own country and you actually conspire to harm that country, usually with other countries. So if you're basically working towards moving all of the industry from, say, America, all the manufacturing, and move it to another country in which you're going to benefit financially, right, to the harm of America, that is treason. If you're doing it from the standpoint of selling military secrets, selling military secrets, that is treason. We often call those that espionage. We call it spying for a foreign body. But when you're actually in partnership with them to make money and move all of the operations to another country, all the big corporations, Apple, Google, all to leave and go to another country to set up their base of operations in the most dictatorial regime on the planet. Why would you do that? Are you planning not to be part of the American system anymore? Or you're still going to use those people, right, as what? Slaves for your benefit under the tyranny of a new world order put in place where you're going to be the ones that are managing it from China? Or is it going to be, your military is under one world military, under the UN? Are you supporting that? Are you arranging for that to happen? To where you remove, you change the rules to eliminate the guns from the people's hands so they can't defend themselves? That's treason. So if you make sure that the UN can take away the weapons from the hands of the individuals, regardless of their rights, that's treason. And the punishment is long prison sentences or death. Death by firing squad, death by hanging. So why is it they try to make lynching illegal? Interesting, right? So we can see that this is now moving forward. We can see that Barr, the Attorney General Barr, has now been given the authority to declassify secret documents. Before, it had to go through a process. There was a gatekeeper for this information. And that's all been rearranged now so that he can do it. So there's a focal point for the release of information in a judicial manner to move these things along. And when everyone is talking about treason, when these talking heads are out there talking about it from the standpoint of the heads of these agencies, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, that they're all in trouble. Loretta Lynch. And it won't stop there. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So you can see it's all moving forward. It's all underway in a way that has woken up enough people because of QAnon. Because of QAnon. Tens of millions of people are going there and finding the information and looking, digging. So if a Foxtrot comes out, you're watching in pursuit of truth, you know what that means. You know, fake situations put out there to distract from your attention to something else. Those things don't last very long because we dig in and we see things. And then if we find out, they try to eliminate that evidence from the internet. Say, well, what happened in New Zealand? Where's the video? It was out there, but when people found out that when the rifle was firing from this, the bullets were going out and disappearing, or the shells, the casings for the bullets should be hitting the ground, right? Where they're showing the shooting going on, they should be hitting the ground, but they weren't. It was graphics. It was put together. It was not real. So when we start figuring these things out, they've for so long just ran with the machine that was built. Make a script, give out the talking points to everybody at 3 a.m. They arrive into the news studios. They all repeat exactly the same words, same phrases, same catchwords, whatever they constructed as their words. As this word will get the traction we're looking for. This will get people to look here and stay here. This system that they have in place is not effective anymore, and losing the eyes, the mind of the people that have been watching, have been brainwashed all this time, that they're now waking up to know that this is no longer what they thought it was. And they're starting to listen to the people that were giving them the alternative points of view. So they've been red-pilled. They've been giving their red pill. And maybe it's requiring many doses of red pills. Some of the things that we discuss here are very far out. Most people cannot understand it. In fact, it is so far out there that they won't even want to listen because they can't absorb it. They have to be given a red pill enough that they can understand what is going on. So Brexit against the European bureaucracy. Trump fighting the bureaucracy, right? The bad people at the top of these agencies, right? That took the law into their own hands and acted outside of the wishes of the people. People can accept that now. After 2.5 years of them showing themselves to constantly beat this drum to be shown as a lie. That there was no Russian collusion by Trump. But in fact, there was Russian collusion by Hillary. And not only that it was designed to cover up the hammer, the spying program that Obama put in place with Brennan and Clapper to spy on everyone. Not for that, not just at that time of the election, but for over 4 years before the election. Basically, after Obama was put in for his second term, what did he do? Well, I don't have to worry about re-election this time, so let me spy on everybody for blackmail purposes and control. That they can now auction, hammer, gavel, sold to the highest bidder this information that will be able to frame you. Oh, you'd like that extra service? For an extra bit of money, we can put some incriminating evidence on their devices for you. The hammer has many uses. So this discovery of this by the inventor coming out and basically being a whistleblower, saying, hey, this was supposed to be, I made this, but it was to spy on our adversaries. I'm not saying enemies, adversaries, everyone else in the world, to be spying on everyone in the world, emails, texts, videos, audio, everything recorded, and also being able to put things on computers. How do they do that? Skype, WhatsApp, do you have that installed anywhere? Do you have Facebook installed anywhere? So they can put whatever they want on your computer. Frame you. Sold to the highest bidder. Money-making system based upon the things that you do in your life that you think are innocuous. You know, conversing, giving thumbs up, you know, back and forth chatting, all to be used against you or to figure out how you can be controlled. What are your push buttons? What information to throw at you to divert you off topic? So we now see that this is unfolding. And we have to red pill people. So if people don't know about this, please don't talk to them about the far out stuff that are extraterrestrial, off-world events, so far out there they can't see them. Talk about what's happening in the government. Talk about what's going on with the banks, how the banks are private and they're lending money to us at interest. And where does the money come from to pay the interest if they lend all the money to us? Yeah, we have to borrow more to pay the interest. It's the only way. There is no place it comes from other than that. It's illegal to pay debts with gold and silver, counter to what says in the Constitution. This simple little piece of information, if people can absorb that, then they can know what's going to happen next when the Federal Reserve is pointed at as the culprit for the problems in the world. Because the system is going to have to be come down because it can't keep going. It takes more and more of this super amount of currency to flood into the system to keep it going because it loses value so fast. Can't help it. That's what it does. It's fiat. There's nothing behind it. It's air. And you have to keep creating more because there's more and more interest. Or we go up from doing trillions in debt to quadrillions. Yeah, let's go to quadrillions. It's okay. But it does mean that that debt is held by the people. So we can't really keep that kind of debt system going. We have to replace it. So we have to come up with a new alternative. And so with the things that are going on in the world, we see the QAnon movement, we see the people rising up with MAGA movement, we see the Brexit, we see the French movement, we see everything that is now carrying us forward. We can red pill everybody with the simple things and then work our way up to bigger Brexits. We need a Cabal it. We need to exit the Cabal, exit stage right. We need to get out of this debt-based system. Maybe it's a debt sit. We need a debt sit? No, that's still not right. Oh, what do you think, Tank? I see you popped up there.
There's a Mexit now, the Muslim conservative movement.
A Mexit?
Yep. I saw it today. Actually happening.
For Mexico?
No, not Mexico. Muslims.
To leave Islam?
Not to leave Islam, because Islam in and of itself, generally, it's like any other religion. There's different sects, but but essentially, like the core values of it aren't violent per se, right? So but there's a movement of in Islam like to become conservatives, right? And because they recognize what's going on, and they realize that they're being portrayed for all of us to be pit against each other.
To leave the fanaticism side, you might say.
Yeah, I mean, there is the fanatics like Ilhan Omar, who's obviously a terrorist who somehow got elected into our government, which doesn't make sense. But, but Islamic, if you ever met Islamic people, I mean, they're very kind and lovely people. There's a lot of misconceptions. It's exactly what Malcolm X talked about, when he was, in Harlem with Malcolm Farrakhan.
Yeah,
there was this violent sect.
Yeah, my mother-in-law from my first marriage is from a sect of Muslims called Ismaili. It's not Shiite and not Sunni. It's Ismaili, which follows the actual descendant of Muhammad. And he's living. It's called the Aga Khan, and he lives in India.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so but most people don't know this. And actually, they're also very big in Africa, the Ismailis.
They sound like a wonderful religion, the Ismailis. I mean, Smileys. I mean, it just
Yeah,
seems
well,
like
yeah. Well, I like going to their temple. I mean, I don't go in, but it's called Jamaat Khana. It's the house of food. I said I'm always there to eat, so there's always good food. They're always bringing food to these events, right? So my mother-in-law will always come back with all this different foods and things. Of course, they sell the food for revenue for the temple.
Right.
So, but it's I said, oh, it's good, having this. And I even allowed my children to go to their training to learn what that was all about.
That's good.
So, but I know I've known many Muslims, and the ideas are and in the Quran are not about this terrorism piece, right? They've distorted it. It even says in the Quran that Christians are not infidels, right? But what their mullahs, the interpretations that are made, right, are what's created this distortion.
Always is.
Right.
It's
like
always you have the whole you have the Talmud, right? And the Talmud is the interpretation of the scriptures for the Jews, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interpretation by these these different rabbis, and their interpretations are totally perverse. I mean, like some of the things that are in the Talmud are awful.
Yeah. So and so we have to realize that that these we don't need to separate the Muslims from the rest of the world. But they take the extreme dogma, right, of the religion and say, that everyone has to become Muslim, right? And
what you're doing is you're pitting, everybody against Islam, right? So the peaceful Islamics who are just trying to do what everybody else does and expand their belief system, as they expand, they'll suffer the same not racism, but whatever you call it, religiosism, where they're looked at a certain way.
The same hatred.
And so inevitably, what will happen is your peaceful Islamics will end up become more defensive, which will make them constantly seem like they're violent too, right? That's what they do. They create the illusion, and that's what they're always trying to do. No, it's a constant, cycle of pitting us against one another, and finding ways to get in our heads, and all we got to do is just wake up to it and treat every person like they're an individual and find out who they are. And if they start talking about blowing up something, like you probably shouldn't hang out with them. Probably tell the cops.
That's a good idea. Yeah, listen, these guys are off track, right? They're going to hurt people. We don't anything that starts with violence. We need to really just nip in the bud.
Yeah.
That's all. That's pretty simple. These are simple things to figure out, right?
Oh man, so I never follow anything that happens in Denarland anymore, right? Because it's just the same thing. I can pretty much predict exactly what's happening. I'm sure Tuesday.
Oh well, we just look at the calendar. If it's Monday, it's going to be this, and it's Monday at this time. Tuesday is this, right. And oh, there's a holiday. This is a holiday weekend, so we must know that it's going to happen during the holiday because we have extra time for the banks to do things, right? Give them extra time to move things around. Oh, no, we can't do it on the holidays because it's a holiday.
Right. No. It's only going to happen on a long weekend, like this weekend. This is the perfect weekend. This is what we've always been waiting for. The moon is aligned with the sun, and the Mercury is in the stars of Venus, and it's all perfect. Yeah. It's funny. So I don't really follow what happens, right? But Jesse Phipps, right, who's in the Philippines, and he believes he has control of the Rodriguez Trust. And he had contacted me a while back, right? And he wanted to talk to Kim because he had already approved the RV, right? And he believed he's the M1, he's the big dog, right? He's got control all the accounts, Alpha, Omega, everything, right? Every single account he's got control. So I had arranged for a conference call between him and Kim, right? And I talked to him a while, and he proceeded to tell me how he was in control of everything. And I go, okay. I said, so I get Kim on the call, right? So we sit there, and he starts telling Kim how he's in control of everything, and Kim just very patiently listens, and she goes, well, she goes, okay, what can I do for you? And so he goes, because like Kim's like, I make the codes, and it's my DNA that unlocks the system. So I don't know what. And he goes, well, he said, I figure with my signature and your codes, we can do a lot of good. And she goes, well, I don't need your signature for anything. She goes, well, they do legally. She goes, they don't care about your signature. And so he got so mad, he hung up the phone, right? And never talked to him again. So every now and again, so he out of nowhere, he sends me a message on WhatsApp, and it's this question for Ron Giles, and the question, it says, it's a bunch of poorly written questions about Kim, right? I don't even know what it was trying to do. So I'm like, okay, and they're asking Ron Giles. So I'm like, okay, I know Ron Giles doesn't know. So just to prevent more ignorance going out there, let me answer the question. So I did. So I answered the question as accurately and as thoroughly as possible, right? So IDC erupts with, troll talk, right? Because nobody ever leaves their name. I think there was one person who left their actual initials, not their name. And so it's like anonymous says X, Y, and Z. So they were just going off, like attacking what I was saying, right? So on Gunner's show today, I went through each one of those questions to respond appropriately. And I put out a challenge this morning, and I said, any one of you can come talk to me directly anytime you want. See, in this world, right, where everybody exists in chat rooms, right, and everybody's got their own little turf in chat rooms, anytime one of these guys has said something about me, I have made it a point to go join their chat room and confront them directly, right? And they usually kick me out within the first few hours I'm there. Right? But unlike, and I always use my real name. I never go under a fake name. I always use my real name. I use my real logo. So there's no question exactly who I am, right? So you don't have any doubt it's me. I'm here in your place to talk to you about what you said, right? Because I'm not trying to act like a fool and go back and forth on a public forum to create more, nonsense. So I invited them all to do the same. I'm like, all you guys who have so much to say, come out and talk about it. Come out and prove to me I'm wrong. Show me your evidence. I'll show you mine. We'll see who comes out on top. But alas, nobody came on. One person came on, and I think they got scared because they realized they were going to have to talk. But
yeah, well, that is what mostly happens in these places where you act as anonymous from the shadows, and then you're brave, and you can say any kind of foolishness you want, right? And that when you're challenged to really come out in light. One of the things I found, just when I first started doing my videos, it just so happened that I ended up putting my laptop like this, right? Yeah. Well, the first one I held like you did, right? Where you're holding your phone like this and you're all, vertical, right? That's my first video. But after that, I just put my laptop up. I said, well, I got to get this closer. And then I figured, what? If I am, if I'm talking to people face to face, they should see my face. They should see my name, right? What's my name? So that I'm not hiding anything. So it's not out of from the shadows, right? I want to be as open as possible about everything so that people know. And I know that yours says Galactic Unicorn, but that's okay.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but it's only because they're shutting me down everywhere, right? So, like in 5 minutes, I'll come back as Stephen Rao, and another minute I'll come back as Project Speak. I mean, I'll just keep coming back in all my different Gmail accounts till they stop messing with me. But I mean, everybody knows it's me, and and everybody knows my story. It's like I'm not hiding anything,
Right.
I'm with you because Tank has been my email for 20 years is Tank Rao at AOL, so it's not it's been that way forever.
What's the email?
What? Yeah, it's old email.
Just
Actually, I
joking.
don't even use it. That's actually my wife's.
That's a technology joke. If you didn't.
Yeah, I know. But no, but see, you're right though. You know what? If I have always thought I'll just come out and say it. That way, if I'm wrong, someone will correct me. But you know what? You know how you know when someone doesn't know anything? Because they don't say anything. They just throw stones and say mean-spirited things. And that's what I saw on Chronicles. And I just, it's such a pathetic place to be and to live, to be honest, and like to get your information, because it's just filled with the same repeated jargon over and over again. And I know the guy, the alleged guru who made that site so popular. And basically what he did is he had like 6 different names he would write under, right? I mean, constantly, he was constantly inventing new characters, and he would just write new stuff, and argue with himself. So it's like, I know that's what goes on. It's like, and he would say horrible things about people, and and I'm like, how can you say in one breath that you're about, restoring humanity and then talk about them the way you do, So all this. So one person, the funniest one. I don't think we got to it today, but one of the comments referenced this guy, one who knows, right? So one who knows used to be one who believes, and one who believes, what he would do is he'd basically repeat intel from me and this other guy. That's all he would do. He'd recap it. It was great. He did a really good job. And then Zora, right? Like Zora, who's like the guy, like, receive ascended masters. Like that guy, right? He so that guy told him one day, you're not just one who believes, you're one who knows. And he renamed him, right? So that launched the guy into like an ego trip, right? Which put him in a frequency where he was just open and receptive to like the what Fisher told me is he was being controlled by the voice of God satellite, right? So all of a sudden he starts channeling grandfather and saying all this crazy stuff, and he starts saying how, this one's Cabal and that one's Cabal. But he called me, like, we talked, and I was like, okay, you're a little out there, but whatever. And then but then I didn't go along with his plan, right? I didn't accept his vision. And he came out and said that Fisher was Cabal, which was a wrong move, and that Dr. WC was Cabal, and put tombstones out there with their names on them, which I thought was way too far. And then eventually he said that I was Cabal, which made me furious. And he was really saying horrible, hateful things, right? He said there was a shoot to kill on all Cabal, and then referenced me and a few others, and was saying, like, so I would go on to IDC every day and I would say 1 o'clock, I'm still alive. Just that's all I would say, just to make the point, like, if I'm Cabal, why am I not dead? Because it's not like I'm hiding, right? And then all I know is suddenly he was gone, right? Suddenly he was gone, and I asked Fisher about it, and the indication I got is that he was causing too much problems, and he was talking about the wrong people. Is what I was told. So I don't know if he's around now, but
he's the one that's gone.
Yeah, no, he's the one that's gone. Yeah. So
you intrigued me about what these questions were. Can you go through a couple of these questions? Because I really don't know these people. It's just intriguing to.
Well, there's 2 questions asked, and I can't even remember off the top of my head. They're basically like, hang on 1 second. I'll actually I will look that up for you. I have it right here at the tip of my my inbox. Okay, so first question was let's see here. Nope, that's from me. Hang on. Where'd it go? Oh no, this is from yesterday. Yeah, so today was the day I laid I put it out there to start a fight. To be honest, because I feel like the time for us to hang back and continue to take this and to allow them to run roughshod over us while we all quietly act benevolent and say kind things is it's past.
Yeah, no, I'm not. there's no mincing words. These the people that are continually pushing for the GCR, they're on the wrong path, and they should wake up. They really should analyze what's been going on and start working towards the benefit of everybody, and stop waiting for something that's never going to happen. And if it did happen, would be a really bad thing. That's why I like going through the mental exercises of saying what would happen if just these you say 1 million. I know that there's probably 10 million people that have dinar and zim and out there in the world, at least one piece, right? But if they say that 1 million of them had one of the $100 trillion notes, and they traded it for $1 billion each, not even $1 trillion, and not 100 trillion, but just $1 billion each. So you had 1 billion people. I mean, you have a million people with $1 billion now flooding the market. They would immediately cause all the prices to rise on the most expensive things, and even the most expensive foods. And then all food will go up. And then people that were not in the million people would not be able to buy things anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just logical. I mean, there's no mechanism. You just dumping cash on the system, and it would collapse. It's already in a fragile state. This would just end it. Just end it. So they just do a simple exercise and think about it. But I know that they got their lives tied up in it. Right. And that's what the problem is. They're so used to doing something. It's all for the good reasons, and whatever they've convinced themselves, they don't like to admit that they were wrong. Right. And they want to find every reason to be right. And the only way to get right again is to admit that you were wrong. So move on. All right. Did you find those questions?
Yeah. So I'm trying to see what the original questions were, right? Or like, cause that I answered, and I'm looking for those. Cause I just labeled it accurate answers from Tank, and read whatever this was, Ron Giles. So basically, they were asking questions about Kim. They asked 4 questions in total, and I mean there was lots of responses on IDC, like maybe 7 or 8 different people want to chime in and say how wrong I was and how. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. So so I basically said that I provided answers to the questions below submitted on IDC because these were sent to me directly. As a rule, I don't respond to these, but okay. So the first question was M1. And then I said, comma, who is Kim Gogan of the Manna World Holding Trust, right? And that was like the first part of the question. Who is Kim Gogan? So I answered, Kimberly Ann Gogan is the sole sovereign monarch of the planet. She is also the owner, trustee, and custodian of the Manna World Holding Trust. The quantum mapping system, sometimes referred to as the quantum financial system, has long been used as a methodology to acquire legal possession of every asset on the planet. The deep state has infinity agreements humanity was tricked into signing that expired in 2012 when the system would only acknowledge the human on the planet with the most original DNA. Kim is 99.8% bioidentical to the mitochondrial Eve. She is the only one who can access the trust, and this has been acknowledged by every government agency, church, and state authority in the world. And then the second part of the question was, is she the only person on Earth who is legally allowed to issue certificates against assets in order to back currency? So I answered, Kim is the only one who is still alive at the M1 level of the world financial system. She is the only one who can issue and create codes that will access the financial system, and these are created by her in real time. Next part of the question was, she has previously stated that certificates, this is not true, she never said anything about certificates, but have already been issued against the gold held by the Chinese elders. So my answer was, the gold allegedly held previously by the Chinese has been removed from their vaults and returned to the vaults that are impossible for them to access. Gold certificates were already used by the Chinese for which they received an allocation of currency. Okay, and then I said, Kim has no need to issue certificates because she has access to the actual asset. She can issue allocation numbers and currency that connects back to the asset, thus allowing asset-backed currency to be made legal. Then they said, and those certificates are not currently held by Chinese elders. I said the Chinese attempted to redeem fake gold certificates registered to a member of the Gao family And when the hallmarks were entered into the terminal in the Oval Office, it revealed that the gold was actually registered to Kimberly Ann Gogan and the Manna World Holding Trust. And then the next part of the question was, if this is true, then of course she is not permitted to issue more certificates against that gold to back new money. And then my answer was, the money has all been drained out of the system to disable the cabal from activating the economic collapse of the world financial system. 80% of the USD is currently fraudulent supernotes. The next part was, how has this issue been resolved? And my answer is, the US deep state, partnering with the Chinese deep state, continue to use the same methods to try and steal back control of the world by hacking the trust, stealing from the people, and leveraging assets they don't own to create fake digital entries they pass off as credits for currency. Kim has completely reprogrammed the entire financial system in a coded language that only a few people on Earth even understand. She has eliminated the deep state from viewing anything inside of the financial system as of Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. The problem will only be resolved when she is able to successfully get funds to the project owners without any human interference, and we are able to, well, I meant to say move freely, but I wrote love freely. I guess both are true, which appears to be at any moment. Now, here's the second question. What are the guarantees that politics would never be allowed to become a part of the QFS, quantum financial system, that will obviously be controlled by those who own the only asset backing all the world's currencies and also the QFS computers? A lot of question there. Okay. So my answer was, there's only one person who can access the quantum system, and she has demonstrated that she is fearless and incorruptible. The deep state is not able to pull off the fraudulent RV, and they will be rendered obsolete shortly after the new changes to the system have updated. The next part of his question was, I asked this bearing in mind the warning about a central authority exercising absolute control over our ability to buy and sell. And my answer, everyone has been given the opportunity to cooperate with the trust and the trustee. The continued dedication to stay loyal to these slave masters trying to justify their evil acts by pretending to fight themselves off is obvious and tragic. Many are suffering from Stockholm syndrome and refuse to let go of the abusive treatment they're so used to. And the next part of their question is, all the nations had some of their gold and gold equivalent asset backing this currency. The management and control of the currencies would be spread among all the nations, which would provide for natural checks and balances, which is relatively accurate. So my answer was, this would have been completed over a year ago if the nation's governments weren't still subjecting themselves to the control of terrorists who many believe to be gods. And then their next question was, if the currencies are all to be equal, why are people talking about RV exchanges rates other than 1-to-1? And my answer was, there will be no RV. And then the next part was, I have not seen anything on how prices will be kept in check after the RV. All this money injected into the world, especially from the Zim bonds, would normally cause hyperinflation and destroy the benefits of the greatly increased money supply. These are good questions, actually. I don't believe that the QFS is designed to control prices. What are your thoughts on this aspect? And my answer, there will be no RV. Currency will revalue over time as countries and people are able to create a production line that increases the value of the money dispersed. Simple. Right. Now, and all these attacks that came at me of these people like, oh, Tank's so off. Listen, everybody who's got something to say, you're welcome to come on the Speak Project any day of the week. I'm broadcasting every night for the next 5 nights from 8 to 10. You can come on. You're welcome to come challenge anything I have to say. You can come on Dan's show. You can challenge me here. I'm public. I mean, we've been, 83 days straight that we've been publicly available that anybody can come on. It's an open forum. If you have something to say that you actually want to help people, then come on and talk about it. Man up, please. All these and then the responses were so visceral. I mean, they were so nasty and mean-spirited. Most of them. There was a couple people that just I didn't get to. I just saw just now, and they were like, very upset. They're like, Tank, I was serious. They have questions, and I'm more than willing to answer questions about this, right? Because I do want to help people, and I want them to come out of it. But what really is obnoxious to me is that people will believe these people that come at them with nothing but hatred. And you can't find anything. Today is the most nasty I've ever gotten about people. I'm never, when it comes to like people, like, look, I'm for the people. I'm nasty about the cabal because they deserve that. Like, they have to be pointed out, and there has to be, some presence of, alpha male somewhere that's able to be like, what, this is ridiculous. You know, it's not, we're not going to soft talk it away.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm happy you read that here because that really helps. I don't know, again, like I said, who these people are in general, what they've done in their past, but there's a lot of information out there that people try to piece together to make this make sense, and we only have certain portions of it. I mean, I read through Neil Keenan's. Someone sent me a piece from Neil Keenan from 2015 that actually was a well put together document about the history and how things went through and collateral accounts and Sukarno and M1 and this is great information, but anything that I take in, I have to try and make it work with everything else I know,
Right.
And see how well it fits together. And I know that I can be wrong still about a lot of things, but that's okay. I am allowed to be wrong. Right? But I'm just gonna try and make my best guess. But that's one of the reasons why I like to go places and meet with the people. As I said, I met with 5 signatories of that control everything. I haven't met Kim yet, but I've met all the others and actually I just touched base with Swiss Indo just by chance yesterday. One of the people in Swiss Indo, I won't say who, but just as a friendly hi, nothing more than that. But I learned a lot when I went to meet with Swiss Indo. I mean, who did that, right? And the people like to say that I was lying. When I first did these interviews with Bob Paksuki, who's the M1 of that time, and this is in 2015, right? That this was information that I couldn't get anywhere else, and it just came to me that I had to read through things. I had to have conversations and try and piece it together. So I don't know everything, but
Dan, what makes you an anomaly is usually when people go to these places and they meet people, they see this something that's just extravagant and amazing and profound, right? And they're wrapped up in it. And then they're like, no, I saw it with my own eyes, right? And because of that, they're completely, entranced with what they saw. So nothing else can be true, right? But you're an anomaly because you've gone and met these people and you still are searching for the results, right? Because at the end of the day, who delivers, right? Who delivers? Like, that's really what it comes down to. And at very least, we can confirm.
They fall into the top levels in that went into China and with the old government warehouses that were put into place. To fall into that was only because I had a connection with who was in this for 40 years with my friend, who was dealing with it, working with the cabal in essence, right? Working with the Bushes, and then.
Right, which is, it's funny to say because they're working with the cabal. It's like, because all of us on some level, right, we're working with the cabal.
Yeah, but they obviously they didn't call themselves that, and I'm sure my friend thought he was doing working for the good side of things. I know his heart was good and he wanted to do good things, but he ended up being suffered from that because he tried to take action and make money off of the things he knew, and they punished him. They before there was like an Alex Jones being unpersoned, he was unpersoned. They made him vanish from the system, right? That was his punishment, and removed all his money from that were in the bank accounts. Same as you were talking about the mercenaries and their bank accounts, right? His just, sorry, it's gone.
Yeah, well, they couldn't access it. I mean, you're trying to beat the system, and not
Well, his
realizing
name
like,
disappeared. His name disappeared. He was
yeah,
gone.
I mean,
But that's
I
no
interviewed
social
the arch.
security number, no anything. So, but yeah, I went and I visited these places, and I'm just learning, and I was willing to listen to all of it, but even making it to being sent to China by Rodriguez, right? It wasn't I wasn't sent there initially by Rodriguez. It was because I'd already been there. And then I ended up meeting with the Rodriguez reps in America, and then hooked up with them here in the Philippines. All right. So, and I know that this Rodriguez here is not going around looking for people to go out there and stand in his name. He will never come out in the front, because if he knows what would happen if he did. So he's until it was already done and finished.
Yeah.
Right? And then exerting his rights only after everything was finished, and until that, he would never show up. So anyone that's out there representing, I know there are people that were working with an organization that was authorized, and I participated with that group, and they have thousands of projects all lined up, documented contracts and everything based around moving these historical assets and dinar and zim, all set up and ready to go. Right?
That's all you can do, because that's all you can do when you don't
do.
actually have access.
But they did it, right, and they're ready to go. And that's what I told them. They contacted me, while I was on the air, a week ago, and I called them back and talked with them, and I told them this piece. Now the American side knew this, but the Philippine side didn't know that I was doing this part about the GCR and saying it's not what we thought it was. And so I had to explain to them here about what's going on. And this is a hard piece for them, right? Because they're all talk about being tied up in it. They're the linchpin. I mean, the GCR doesn't happen without them, right? And according to the way they had set it up, because they needed to have a large asset to balance all that debt, in order to balance the books. It's not just because they said, okay, let's reset the game and throw everything aside. That it was, how do you manage all of the accounts? How do you cancel all the debt? So you had to bring it all to zero in order to start. Anyway, so and it's also getting into not wanting to wait for the GCR, focused on Kringle coin, TBC coin, and created a movement of understanding of what the difference is out there, and that we have our own value that we can put into something and create an own economy. And it doesn't stop there, right? So what's happening with Kim, right? And she's come now to bring all the assets back, and that's a challenge. I told a couple people they're worried about getting their project in, and I said, don't worry. When this starts, it's going to take decades to get the money back, if not at least decades. I don't know. Maybe it takes 100 years or 200 years to get assets back. I don't know. Do you have any idea? Does Kim have an idea of what that takes?
No, I not that I've talked to her about. I mean,
yeah.
she,
but it's no hurry. Right? There's no hurry that people are worried about getting it.
Yeah,
so
it's like,
or it's gonna be gone. The money will all be gone. No, they don't.
I mean, the only urgency really is because we need to give people the tools to fight back. At the end of the day, now, we could call it whatever we want, because we don't want to go into a world of fighting, and you could fight back with love and kindness and generosity and benevolence and innovation and great ideas. There's a million ways to fight back, but it's still a fight. You still have to take ownership for what is yours, and this world, as far as I'm concerned, it's ours. I mean, not as far as I'm concerned, that's just a fact. I mean, that's our job, that's our responsibility, right? So to be able to be worthy, so to speak, of having that responsibility, there has to be some level of, give us the tools to be able to do it, so we can make the world a kind of place that we all want to live in, and that's where we're at. And the very first conversation, that's what I said to Kim, you know, um, because at first, like, I still had, RV dreams in my head, right, of like trillions of dollars. But I remember the first thing I said to Kim was, I said, look, I need $100 million today just to get Create Change set up in New York. And she told me, okay, and true to form, you know what? We worked out the contract for that later, and she did exactly that. She set up that contract for me. So I have no question about Kim's integrity. She does what she says she's going to do, and everything in her power, she does. And then she turned right around and gave out, like 87 $1 million contracts to people, so they could go set up an account for Create Change, and they could use it as a disbursement center and use that as their initial soft cost, so they could get like their office set up. So, you know, she follows through. It's the corruption in the system. They're so determined because if you give slaves money, they're not slaves anymore. And once people can make up their own mind, I mean that's what they're trying. That's what they're fighting so hard against.
Because they're able to choose,
right?
Exercise free will.
Right. Everything in our life has been sculpted around very limited options because of what we had. Even people who have broken out of this, they steal what they have. I mean, I talk about the guy who invented oil futures, like who the first guy to ever, sell oil futures, raised like $50 million for it, right? I mean, you think genius, right? I mean, and I've got a couple people in my group who were part of this, right? They own some. So after that, the IRS came in, took everything he had, took the oil fields back, mined the oil fields for 40 years, right? And then they turn around now, like 40 years later, and they're talking back to them, and they're talking to them about selling back the oil fields that belonged to them in the first place, right? I'm like, are you kidding? Like, you guys are even talking about this? Like, they already took the oil. There's nothing there. They're trying to sell you back nothing after they took the value of it, and they stole your money. But that's how abused we are, that's what they get away with, and they just resell us after they use something, they give us the scraps from their table, and we're grateful to have them. And I'm not, I don't feel that way. That's not good enough for me as far as I'm concerned. And that's why it's not good enough for my family. It's not good enough for my children. Everything they have, we have the right to have. Everything they've ever had. Now, they've done horrible things with it. They've enslaved humanity. I want people to have the same exact access to everything they had access to, and watch the difference in what the world can be. That's the difference.
Yep.
And I know people want to limit what we could do still even now. Even in this transition, they're like, well, no, it's going to be this way, it's going to be that way. Well, I just don't agree. It has to be done in an ethical way, and we have to be complete and absolute. And yes, we have to take our time to do it that way. But certainly, people have great ideas. We'll make sure they get funded, of course. But a lot of people just have like this guy Jesse Phipps. I'll never forget. He told me this. He said, "Well, I already signed off on the RV, so all that money's there. It's all there." He said, "But but the bad guys keep stealing it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, who'd you sign off with, right?" He signed off with like the Chinese elders. I'm like, "Yeah, I know the bad guys stole it. Those are the guys that you signed everything over to, right? Because they never intended to give it to you." So people out there who think the Chinese elders are the good guys, it's like, well, Jesse Phipps signed over the assets to him. What happened? Did they give it to you? Of course not. So, but even with that, it's like he clearly doesn't understand the laws of supply and demand. Why would he have control of this? Why wouldn't there be some level of understanding that he should have to have the right to do that? Right? They just chose somebody random who would give them over control. And that's what everybody thinks is the answer. Let me just oh, you're thirsty? Let me just dump an ocean of water on you. Here, let me help you out here. Now you have water. It's like, yeah, but now I'm drowning, right?
And it's salt water.
Yeah, I can't even drink it. It's like you didn't actually take care of the problem. And that's the thing. It's like, we can empower people to be innovative and be themselves. And that's what I'm looking for all of us to be able to do, just to make that activate and come alive. And that's the reality that everybody's been working for. And, there's people with amazing ideas, but even Sir Tim, he's talking about bringing out his free energy tech, right? And he's like, we're just going to start giving it out to everybody. It's like, no, you can't just do that. You have to have a plan, because that's going to cause so much disruption. It's going to cause more heartache than good, right? Because you're going to cost people, their careers and their, all types. A whole industry will be lost, right? If that's what you did.
Yeah, I just actually wrote a email to him this morning about an abundance model. How to make that work. So we'll we'll talk more about that as well. But it's yeah, I think that he's got good things can happen with that technology coming. All this Tesla technology out there can come about, right? And then, but how do you put it into place? How do you do it? How do you integrate it into the existing world without it fighting you, right? Every step of the way.
Well, I mean, those guys are amazing, but you know what I realize is, and they are amazing. The inventions that they have are incredible. I mean, and they're just kind, good-hearted, intelligent people, right? So, like, of course, you want to support that. But I don't want my inventors, my artists, my my creators to be consumed where they have to be accountants, right? Like, let the artists be artists, let the inventors be inventors, let them invent, right? And let's make sure we honor what they invent by creating a society and a world where we have a mutual trust and agreement, where we're going to bring things out in the best possible way, and there's humanity involved in everything we do. That every single decision we make, we agree we're going to act in the best interest of the planet, the people, and the individual human experience. And by repeating that, as simple as it sounds, it changes everything. Because right now, everybody's got to protect their assets and they got to patent everything. And that's how we give up our power, right? We give our power over to someone who could just come in and take it. Because every patent that's laid is riddled with legal language that they can take that from you, right? And so it's better not to even patent these things. That's why I love the guys who have made these like free energy devices. They just put it out, open source, make a YouTube video about it. They're here, go do it.
Yep, that's one of the better ways. So open source has a place, right? But again, where's the money model that makes it work? That's why it's kind of like when I look at Telegram app, right, for messaging. There was a money source. It was the foundation that was put in place with money, and then it's hands off after that, right? The foundation just does what it's programmed to do, which is put out money, and pay these programmers to go out and create this open source environment, and they're great. They basically created a system that is great for communication, and it's actually much better than anything else out there, and it keeps getting better and better and better. And they're gonna be expanding that. So, but that's a model where open source can function if there's a money source. If there's no money source, open source, and you're trying to make money at doing that just to eat, you will die. I've seen a lot of starving programmers that were very enthusiastic about their goals to create this really wonderful program that was to do all this, and they would make money somehow, and they literally didn't have money. So, there's ways that you can make things work in an open source area, but I like closed source and open architecture. You show,
yeah. I like make a revenue again. Model. I figure what I'm going to focus on is I'm just going to focus on changing the world and getting money to people so that they can do the same. And I'm going to create communities that are dynamic and amazing and innovative. And
there's a money
they're healthy. Right. There's money because we have a money source, right? It's like so. Yeah. And then I don't want to have to fuss about making more money. Like I know the model, I know how we do make money, but I don't want to concern myself with that, right? So I'll hire people that they can be concerned about that, and just tell me, if we have limits or if we don't, and I just rather it be that way. And that way we can just go and extend, and I can be myself, and they can be themselves, and they can fuss about those things because I'm not gonna.
So I look at and I'm often talking about abundance model. So, like I say, with the technology that they have, if you want to set up a model in which the better that the technology does out in the world, the more the people that are participating in it make sense, right? And you want to promote that, and then you want to promote the use of it. So you create a model in which that happens. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's logical. It's not even to be honest. It's like, of course, that's what we're gonna do. Like, this makes sense. Right? It's like the more impact you have, like the better it'll be. Like, and we don't have to micromanage and super regular. Like, we don't need another society of like super rich, corruptible people who want to be, the all in all on everything. Like, we just don't need that. It just doesn't. Like, people can make a very, very healthy, comfortable life and have a couple $1 million and be fine and have all the. I mean, you can say, how much money do you need if you owned your property, you owned your home, if your health was amazing, if you had all these things and it was normal, right? Money just it's like, and I also have this extra money that I can use for whatever, that's great too. And I'm a fan of having nice things. I think it's fine. I think we should create better things and do away with products that break. Why do we have those? Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But
one of the ways I look at when you make a model is if you go out and you take your idea and you start making it happen, you have to bring people into it, right? Now, normally in today's world, you hire them, right? and they come in, and some of them, pretend they want to do your work, and they do an okay job just to get a paycheck, and that kind of moves on. But there's the other type of where the product inspires the people that want to participate, and they feel like they have an equal part in actually making it successful, right?
Yes.
And then as it's successful, they get benefit from it, right?
Yep.
That's that kind of model works. But I highly believe in ownership, property ownership, intellectual property ownership, and that it should be protected. But we can tell that the system in place right now of patents is in no way protected. It's actually it's the opposite. You can actually become the target if it's a revolutionary technology, or it will be stolen away from you, as in, say, the security certificates and social networking functions. Like Hillary's group has stolen away all that technology. So if it's a Tesla stuff or free energy or whatever these things that are out there that are really would make the world a different place, they don't want it out there because they don't want to lose control.
Right. I mean, look, I have inventors right now who have technology that is so far beyond anything that's in existence right now. That's so incredible. And what they're trying to do with them is they're trying to let them age out, right? I mean, these guys are like 89 years old, right? Like older guys, I mean, and I say older from the standpoint, keeping in mind that like I fervently believe and I know for a fact that humanity should live to be 900 years old, right? And we can do that. We have to, but we have a lot to change to allow that frequency to exist, right? And but so 89 right now is knocking on the door, right? And even though these guys are sharp, right, they're letting them age out, and they have every single incredible invention patented. So what do you think the plan is? Well, we're going to let them age out and take the patent, and they're not. And they have no plan to release it to us. It's kind of like Eric Williams with Cure for Hunger, who has this incredible skunkworks technology, right? Now, the fact that it was run by skunkworks, right? So it's like run by Lockheed Martin originally. Now he has the patent for it, and he's creating these biodomes that create food using all these Tesla's tech for free energy and atmospheric water generators, and then creates enough food for 50,000 people and takes up 1 acre of land. It's incredible, right? Well, it's been around since like the 60s. right? And it was hidden because they were putting it in the dumb bases, right? Like the deep underground military bases, right? With the intent and the plan that, hey, we're gonna have to be underground for a while because we're about to cause a nuclear holocaust. So, everybody we bring down here, we're gonna make sure they have, good food, right? Meanwhile, like now he's got it and it's public. He's completely developed it, right? I've got the guys who one of the guys who's producing the parts itself, right? Designing the parts for it, and he can't get funded, right? And he keeps getting close, keeps getting all these pieces in place. He keeps making way with governments and all types of stuff because a lot of the governments, they don't know either. They're trying to get something in place. Like you got things moving with different countries too, right? But these things never come to pass because they don't want them to come to pass. They want you to put all your energy into something and fail, right? And they want it to seem normal, right? So after a while, we just don't really know anybody who's really successful at it. But we don't put the pieces together that no one really has been in a while because they don't have any money, number one. Number two, they're doing everything they can to steal and leverage your tech to use it, right, to create fabricated money and just keep laundering and they stay alive and we die off. So it's so out of the box. The most innovative idea to come around in our history is give the money and the assets back to the people on the ground. It's like that is wildly radical thinking, right? And that's what we're doing. But that is the most disruptive move in the history of any market in existence because it changes everything.
Right. The same reason why Gaddafi was taken out, because he was going to bring all of the water into the deserts, desalination plants, 100-mile long, 40-foot wide pipes to bring desalinated water from the Mediterranean into the deserts. It was almost complete. And his plan was to actually grow food, and it would feed all of Africa and all of Europe.
And I've talked, I talked to some people from Libya, right, about that. Or Libya? Yeah.
Libya.
Or Lebanon. Anyways, whatever.
No, it's Libya. It's Libya.
It's Libya. Okay, yeah. So I talked to a Libyan woman, and her cousin was there, and she was her cousin was part of the group that went into to basically hunt down Gaddafi, and the entire time they were led there directly by the CIA. They had microphones in their ears, and they were told exactly his location as they tracked him, and they stomped him out. I mean, violently and publicly. I mean, they videotaped the whole thing, to make a point. And that whole thing was a CIA op, right? Because the last thing they wanted was to give those people. And meanwhile, the people themselves, right? They're part of it, probably getting paid something by the CIA, and as far as they're concerned, it's like, oh yeah, dictator. They convince them, whatever. And they think they're doing a service, right? They think the CIA is on their side. But in reality, it's like this. He was trying to help them. It's just a crazy, concept.
Well,
it's like
I think someone should pick up that project of Gaddafi, right, and finish that. Bring the water to the desert. Desalination.
Well,
someone should pick that up.
Sir Tim and that group, they have the most advanced atmospheric water generator I've ever heard of. I mean, because I've got connections with a couple different companies that use atmospheric water generator. People don't know this, but the actual Dallas Cowboys stadium, or at least I was told this a while ago, that they actually use an atmospheric water generator for the whole stadium, right? But theirs that they use, right? They understand how to tap into the ether and create water. And from what I was told, the numbers they gave me are about 2,000% more than the best atmospheric water generator that exists. I mean, it's incredible, and I haven't checked it out. I haven't seen the tech or talked to them about it since. But I would definitely, that's something I would be very willing to bring into production right away. Because as far as things go, like I think people having fresh water is definitely on the lines of people having power, because having fresh water, in places that have no water, and getting away from the poison in our own water. I mean, the first place I want to bring atmospheric water generators is here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because, who knows what we're going to have to go through to get them to stop poisoning the water. I mean, that's a process, right? Like, we're going to have to go to great lengths to get that to stop. So, which is ridiculous, by the way. It's ridiculous. They're poisoning our water. I mean, just period. It's insane that that's normal. It's insane that that is accepted. I was talking to a family today from the Philippines, and I was actually, I went over to help their son who was sick with the bioscan, the frequency treatment, and I was talking to her from the Philippines, and she was telling me all these different things, and I'm just listening to all the ways that they're, and her son was just a tiny little guy, and all the things that they had already done to him, where like they're convinced that he's sickly, and I'm like, he's not sickly. I'm like, we just have to change, make a few modifications, and he's fine, and he'll thrive. But this is common. This is, I mean, even I remember one of the big things with like Obamacare that no one ever addresses is how it's designed to allow the elderly to die off.
Right.
It's like no one ever talks about that. They never talk about how it infringed on your civil liberties and exercised the right to come in and take your children. Right.
Right.
They never talk about that.
This whole system of having the government has authority to come over and take children from anyone is atrocious. Doesn't matter the idea of abuse, because that is then stretched, right? There should be, unless literally a murder was about ready to take place and you're going to take it away from, they should, and the people are unstable and psychologically, I think they're some extent, but for the most part, kids are being taken away from their parents just because someone gives them an accusation against them, right? Or they're going to use corporal punishment to, which is, can be excessive, but at the same time, what's more excessive is putting these kids into these systems that end up using the kid in horrific ways. It's actually a part of the system that the Cabal is using, to make money off of kids. Even
it's incredible. How is that even? Isn't it amazing? It's like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean,
they have all the kids then registered, right, and they move them wherever they want them, right? And so if it goes from house to house, and then suddenly nobody knows where that kid is anymore.
Yep, that's right. That's what they do all the time. And then also, and we have a woman who was actively involved and she had twins that she was adopting, and her nanny that she had to watch actually stole them, trafficked them for years. Until they were, and when they were 18 years old, she went back to see them, went back to the nanny just to see that they were alive. But she had her children stolen from her. Her husband was killed. Her private investigator was killed. I mean, in this process, because he got too close to know what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, there's a lot of things we need to correct. I think focusing on these positive inventions and things, I think it's going to be very helpful, right? And there are abundance models that can work right now that can make this happen, right? So this will be interesting to see how these things unfold. I've talked about a few technologies that they have, but even a very simple one, that will charge your battery for your phone or your computer or anything in 5 minutes. Simple, right? So would you listen? And I just gave this example. So would you pay $100 for a charger that would charge your phone in 5 minutes?
Sure,
now,
of course.
I mean, right now you buy, cables and fast chargers and stuff, and they're, you pick them up for anywhere from $20 to $40. But would you pay $100 to charge all of your batteries in 5 minutes? And right now, my phone, it's like 4 hours to charge. I got a big battery, but
It's incredible.
Very fast.
Yeah.
But this is something that's a simple device, and it's not going to be something that's going to make the world freak out, right? like a free energy device. So I suggested, bring out that. Focus on get that out. Generate money. You do the other projects, right? That kind of. There's a lot. There's a lot of abundance-based things that we can do to put things in and into play, and we got to use the tools at hand. We'll roll with it. So see how these things happen. All right.
But it's time to get rolling. It's time to get rolling.
So was there any update that you want to talk about, or still it's like hush hush? Can't say anything.
I can't really say anything about what's going on.
All right, that's
it's all good news. It's all and part of it I don't know, but the parts I do know, even it's just there's there's things that are going on that are clearing the way for us that I know, and we're right on the verge of it.
I'm just going to ask the basic. I don't want to let it go without saying it, right?
No, I think it's wise, and I appreciate that.
So,
look, there's nobody more anxious.
Why did you wait for an hour and 40 minutes before you asked?
Right.
Tell me in the first 5 minutes. First question.
Man, so I'm going to start hammering on this about this, really trying to draw out this depopulation agenda and really try to Dan and I talked about making a kind of a flow sheet to show people how all these different things that seem so radically different, they're all part of the same thing. They're all part of the same thing. I put together, I just sent you a little video. I put together a little 12-minute video, and I took the Eisenhower's last speech, right? Like his final address, right, where he talks about the military industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
Militarized industrial complex, and then Roger Welch, who was a self-made millionaire back in 1958, and in the same year, they both basically outed the Cabal, right? And they mapped out, and they both did it. They really said, this is what they're going to do. Beware of it, right? Look out. This is how they're trying to take and it says how they're going to try to take your sovereignty, and they're going to make you surrender slowly and systematically, piece by piece, step by step. And they have done exactly that, to where the fight right now is with humanity is there's many of us that are ready again to surrender our sovereignty because we don't even know what it looks like to be sovereign. So
and just over time, I mean, the kids of today, they don't even understand that there is an issue with sovereignty.
Right? Everybody thinks they're free because they think this is what we have. We have to work with.
Well, I can vote. I'm in a democracy. No, you're in a republic. Well, what's a republic?
Yeah, that's right. Because democracy is very easy to manipulate, right? Because if all you get is a limited piece of the story, it's easy to sway the masses, right?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to focus one of these, openings of the show, of the broadcast about, Glenn Beck had done a series. I mean, a new it's a little piece. I don't know, so maybe about an hour and a half. We're just focused on socialism and communism and fascism, on how that is creeping around and how they're trying to, absorb it by, calling it like a democratic socialist, that kind of thing. We're making it sound good. But every time socialism takes place anywhere, it ends up in people dying by the millions everywhere it takes place. Right? So why does everyone think this is a good thing, right? Why do the young kids think that this is a good thing? Because they're not taught the history. They're not taught about what it actually means, right?
And the bigger reason is they've snuck socialism in on everything we do, right? Before 1913, nobody paid income taxes, and everybody had a house. People owned their property, right? We still had roads. We still got around. Everything was, but now government has taken control of everything, right? It's government. We rely on the government for roads. We rely on the government for bridges. We rely on the government for every single thing that is, right? Everything. And all of these things are socialist, ideology, right? The state governments have been rendered ultimately useless. The federal government controls everything. That's already here. So it's been that way. We just didn't. It just kind of like snuck in around us, like we were born into it and didn't realize. So it is radically different, in a sense, for people, especially who've never known anything different, like us.
Well, I remember when I was a young kid, I was very much aware that there was a difference between the United States of America and the spelled with a capital U, United, and a lowercase u, and the difference between of America and for America.
Right.
And I knew that when I was young, right? And I asked, but the history books and things of that nature have changed. That's actually QAnon has been said, go and buy history books from 1 decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, and read what's in the history books, because it's changed over the years.
Yep.
And you'll see how remarkable that difference is. And I guess we just have to really burn the books from the last 40 years and go back to the ones that were 40 years ago, right?
Well, I mean, there is more accurate history books. It's not like they were still perverting history 40 years ago. But there's more accurate history books that have been published that the publishing company refuses to release because the history is so radically different.
Yeah. Well,
but man, you know what though? Right now it's pretty amazing because now you have President Trump out. I mean, openly saying this is treason. Everybody's now saying that there's been treason committed. I'm like, oh my gosh, what an incredible time, right? Like this horrible debacle. They're actually calling it what it is. It's a miracle. That's a miracle.
The plan is working then from the QAnon plan.
No, I'm saying the QAnon didn't have a plan. Still, if it wasn't for Kim saving the Pentagon's ass, they would if it's a military plan, who is planning it? I'm telling you that it's more clear to me that it's Kim now than ever because none of them knew what was going on. She gave them the information. If she didn't give them the information, the mountains of intel and reports, they wouldn't even have known. They would have just kept on their plan. The plan was to depopulate.
Right. Yeah. So it's good that Kim gave them that part of the plan. I'm talking about the plan that they've been working on that Kim didn't work. Has been around for it. So the plan that I was told about is it was basically a 5-inch binder that was carried around and brought from these groups of military people, right? And they had a few civilian patriots that were part of this, and they've been trying to do it for 40 years, right? They just kept refining it over the years, but they couldn't find their way to make it happen. And this is why they were going to basically do a coup on Obama, right? Because they said we have no more, we can't wait any longer, and it was just because they got Trump that they decided that they could make this work out better, and so it seems to be working. So that's the other plan. I'm sure that Kim is contributed a lot.
Okay, all right. Now listen, I talked to a lot of the white hats. I used to talk to them quite a bit, and I used to get really in-depth understanding from them. And I can tell you, in that plan was the GCR. That was part of it. So how do you reconcile that plan and how much of that plan was not really the plan of the order?
I think that would be a co-opting of because the Cabal knew about the plan.
Right.
To save the world. It was not part of the plan. And they said, okay, we're gonna move this. oh, all the positive things that they want to do, we're going to let them roll with this in their plan under the GCR, right? And they just co-opted, that group or those patriots into believing it's just the same group of patriots. They're just, got them to agree to an additional thing that they were doing. So I don't think their plan included the GCR from that standpoint. But they obviously had a way that they were planning on taking over the financial system as part of this. Obviously, they're looking at going after the removing, the Fed, right, or nationalizing the central banking system. Maybe that's part of it, and then just get rid of the IRS and the interest-based money. Right, just go back to that. Right, that might have been the only thing that was in their plan, but the cabal. No. Again, I'm just projecting. I don't know, but these are things that are if you want to make take all the available possibilities, right? Because I don't know for certain, but I do believe that plan did exist from the people that I've talked with that were part of trying to manipulate the system into this new push. And so I don't think it's the cabal's plan. I think it was a separate plan by real patriots that wanted to do something. And obviously, Kim coming into play, with this is going to change certain things, right? Yeah. So it makes it easier, right? Because the cabal has no money.
Right. So much easier. Well, plus they have accurate intel, and they actually understand that half of them are working for the cabal, to overthrow, one thing and then another. That's the kind of the piece to me that I always think it's like, well, but I do think there's a plan in place that is has been modified, based on accurate information and getting out of the compartments that each one of them are in. So, hey, I'm for it. I'm trying to stop naysaying it. I'm just put up or shut up is kind of how I feel. So,
yeah, I got you. So anyway, it's good that we could talk about it though, and see. We'll figure it out, in another 5 years or so.
No, Dan. No, we won't. We will figure it out now.
Yeah. I'm really rooting for our 100th episode or our 100th broadcast, right?
We could have 100th episode after we're free and we're building projects, and our episodes we come together in September. We're just doing one show a week because everything broke through, and we're changing the world. Those episodes will be so much better. So much better. We'll just start introducing.
And people can go back over the old content too. So.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff, So well, I think that's all I got for tonight, man.
No, that's good. No, I think we did quite a bit here. So, we'll be back then tomorrow, and we'll see how things progress. If we have I'll ask early on, and I guess you'll be on. Who do you have coming on tomorrow for the tank?
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be really good. Marta Guzman is coming on, and she's gonna talk. She actually creates music using musical alchemy, which is essentially she's using the healing frequencies that we know about. She's used them to heal herself and others, and should be pretty cool. And she's got some really great music she's gonna put out there that just give people access to and stuff. And she's gonna explain how it works. So I'm pretty excited about that. Should be cool. This week's gonna be action packed though. I mean, a lot of really engaging guests that we are kind of drawn in. So we'll see how it goes.
That sounds good. Well, I should end up speaking with you. I'll give you a call in a little bit if you can remain available.
I will remain available as long as I'll do my best.
There's a couple things to discuss that have been kind of rolling on. So give me a few minutes, and I'll give you a call. And
Okay.
But okay, everyone. Again, subscribe, share, give thumbs up, positive comments, and please pass this link on. It helps. It helps bring out the message. It helps us get to the masses and red pill them slowly.
Slowly. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it as always.